Hey, everybody. Welcome to Odd and Untold, the podcast where we talk about all things strange and spooky. This week, I'm going to be talking about some UFO sightings. I'm mainly picking this for two reasons. One, earlier this week, we lost Nick Pope. Nick worked at the Ministry of Defense in the UK from 1985 to 2006. And if you've ever seen a UFO documentary, a UFO TV show in the past 20 years or so, you know who Nick is. And again, we lost one of the good ones. We lost Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum a few months ago, almost, yeah, over like 6 months ago now. Bigfoot researcher. And now we've lost Nick Pope, who's a very big name in the UFO community. And it's tough losing people like this because these are, people with real credentials and scientific degrees and things like that. And there's a lot of people out there who do good research, but don't sort of have that background that the mainstream media and science will pay a little bit more attention to, so we need all the help we can get when talking about UFOs or Bigfoot. So yeah, it's been tough. So yeah, sorry to hear about Nick's passing. Very sad. And the other reason I'm picking it is because last week, Josh and we did another paranormal campfire chat, and we were in Ostego County, which is in the central New York region, the Mohawk Valley region, Mohawk River Valley. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on a few of those stories. We didn't really get to talk about the UFO sightings last week. In that episode, we were really focused on the Bigfoot. So I wanted to do some UFO sightings for this episode. So let's dive into some of those. Okay, so once again, I'm using the New Fork database. That's the National UFO Reporting Center. And I love this site because it has this map of the world, and you can just zoom in on anywhere and just see all the UFO sightings in a region that you want to look at. So, here we have Cooperstown, which is famous for the Baseball Hall of Fame. And this is all Otsego County. Right above Cooperstown here is Ostego Lake. And Josh and I were right in this area here, kind of between these two red dots. We were there at Basswood Pond State Forest, camping last week. We had some cool stuff happen, some weird stuff. I'll get into that in another episode because it was weird. Nothing to do with UFOs. So like I said, I'll get into that in a future episode. But there are some UFO sightings in Burlington Flats where Basswood Pond State Park is. And, Josh is right up here, just kind of northeast of Cooperstown. That's where he lives. And then my buddy Scott, who's been on the show many times, he's over here in the Amsterdam area, which again is a little bit further more east than northeast of Cooperstown. But yeah, I'm just pulling some UFO sightings from Burlington Flats and Cooperstown, and we're going to go over those tonight because this is like the central New York state area region. You have the Mohawk River up here, so all these towns are dotting the Mohawk River. So this is the Mohawk River Valley, and it's beautiful up there, beautiful country. Loved camping up there recently. It was great. So yeah, I mean, I can pull out here, and you can just see all the UFO sightings. But you can see New York State here, and it almost gets hard to just see the map because there's just so many. And look down here, like in New York City, New Jersey, Long Island area, out by Boston. I mean, you can really sort of get this visual look at like hotspots where they are. Western Pennsylvania has a lot, Pittsburgh area. So Chicago, really cool. So I love this site. I'll put a link to it down below so you guys can just check out UFO sightings in your area. But for now, let's get into some UFO sightings in central New York. Okay, so this first story is coming to us from Burlington Flats, like I said, where I camped recently at Basswood Pond State Forest. This is from April 17th of 2024, so just about a year ago. 2 years ago, sorry. I'm still in 2025, people. This time is moving way too fast for me. So this was seen by one person. There's a video here, so it's pretty cool. I'll try to show that. So they're saying this was about a half mile away, not sure of the speed. So let me just recall their story, and then I'll show the video, which is really weird. I don't know what to make of it, but nighttime videos, they can be ambiguous, but I'll play it, and you guys can sort of let me know what you guys think. So they say, first I noticed small orbs moving around three, and three lined up, and there may have been more. Then a large, bright orb passed and went uphill. I sat up and looked out the large picture window and saw some small lights moving in different directions, like they were spreading out. Two groups of three lined up in different spots. I believe there were more that passed and were out of my sight line. Then a large orb moving straight across the street from behind the house, then up to the top of the hill, across the street a bit of a distance. It stopped at the top and hovered about 2 or 3 minutes before a large light popped on and lit the whole top of the hill. I started filming on my phone and zoomed in to see closer, and it suddenly changed into what looked like a roundish shape, like a head with a spinning ring around the top, and had an attached arm on the right side of me facing and looking closer. It was a piece of machinery like a ray gun, and the other side extended out and bent into an arm shape. So it sounds like this thing is moving and there's parts to it. Very, very strange. That seemed to have a black space in the end, like a hand that faced in, palms open. There was a cloud around it, and it seemed like it was holding or receiving information, as it looked like figures between the hands were constantly changing. I saw faces in the hazy clouds and animals. Below, there was another cloud, and though wavy, I could see faces and animals that were constantly changing there too. There were no sounds, and the night seemed eerily quiet. I eventually jumped because my phone lit up when I shifted, and I noticed some of the other orbs moving. I was so scared, I jumped to my bed, covering my head with the blankets. So many other strange details of the night. When I hid, I peeked out and noticed a reflection on the window of 2 dots and 4:14 next to it. So I don't know if that's the clock. I fell asleep about that exact time. We were in a house working on a renovation with no furnishings. There was no clock anywhere around that would have reflected that. I came back home and was so exhausted all week that I slept every chance that I could. So let me play the video here. There's some photos, and again, it's weird looking. There's a picture of the orb. There's this photo here. It's a still from the video, but I'm going to play the video for you guys, and you can let me know what you think. All right, so there's clearly an orb here, and you can see some light behind the hill. And I'm just talking for people who are listening on audio. So they're zooming in, and now this orb, you can clearly see that it looks like it's on a craft. Like when it was zoomed out, it was just a bright light. And now it looks like a couple of different lights on a craft. I mean, honestly, this looks like something out of like the War of the Worlds film from the 1950s. Dr. Clayton Forrester. It's just got like 2 big bright lights that look like eyes, and then there's like a smaller white light underneath this object. Just very hard to really make anything out. It's nighttime. The contrast on these phones is still not great. Even with like an iPhone 17, shooting at night can be very difficult, especially video. Just a weird thing. I don't know what to make of this. It's just very strange. And that's the end of the video. So yeah, a really strange sighting. This person is sort of saying it looked like it had pieces of machinery sort of popping out of it, almost like a satellite dish, like it's trying to get a signal. There's other orbs around it. And you guys have to understand that this place, Burlington Flats, there's not a lot out there. This isn't like a city. This isn't like a place where you're going to have lots of aircraft. We were camping out there. I don't think I saw a single aircraft or heard a single aircraft. I mean, they do go over occasionally, but you're not going to see something this low and this bright. Just very, very strange. It's hovering. It's moving, and then it's hovering above a hill. Very weird. And he's seeing numbers reflected. They're in a house that's being renovated. There's no furnishings, so kind of creepy on its own. And then you're seeing this light, and then there's like this sense of exhaustion after the sighting. So it does make me wonder if there's some missing time here. What did this person experience? Just very strange. And again, I'm showing the images here of this thing, and I don't know what to make of it. It does not look like a conventional aircraft. There's no navigation lights. It looks not sleek like an aircraft, like it's not a plane. Doesn't look like a blimp. Again, the resolution on the phone camera is not great, so it's hard to see what it is, but there's definitely something there. So, not sure about this one. Again, I wish the narratives had more information. I wish these uh, tales had like follow-up investigations like the BFRO has, where there's added info when somebody reaches out to these people. And some of the stories later we're going to get into this episode, people take pictures, people take videos, and then they're not here. So I don't know if they're not uploading. I don't know if there's an administrator who's not letting them upload. But this is a weird one. This is a UFO in the strictest sense of the term. It's unidentified, it was flying, and it was an object. I'm not saying it was alien, but really strange. It was silent, it was hovering. They got video of it, so something was there. Don't know what it was. So let us move on. Okay, next story, also from Burlington Flats. This took place on Christmas Eve, December 24th of 2019. And I like Christmas stories. I like anytime there's like this weird overlap of like paranormal and holidays. I mean, I've done Bigfoot sightings on Christmas and Thanksgiving. So very cool to sort of have that. And I think a lot of people are just out on Christmas night. They're out driving, they're looking up at the sky, they're out looking at lights, and then you see some strange lights. So yeah, this one, 7 UFOs on Christmas Eve, upstate New York, rising vertically one at a time, each 3 bright red lights. They put in here SpaceLink satellites. SpaceLink is not usually red, and usually you see more than 3. Usually it's a whole bunch. So, but they throw that in there just, because it's a possible explanation. Maybe there was something in the atmosphere that made them look more reddish. But let's get into the narrative here. While looking at a big pole barn with huge point of lights Christmas display shining on the barn and into the sky Christmas Eve, I turned around just before pulling the electric cord out to turn the lights off. I noticed one bright red-orange light with 2 smaller lights, the same color on each side of the bigger light, in the middle. As I continued to stare, it slowly, vertically continued to rise just above the mountain peak, and another exact same 3 lights in the same formation rose right underneath it. This happened again 7 times until my wife and I saw all 7 crafts slowly bouncing around and flickering in a vertical pattern as if looking directly at the pole barn with all the Christmas display lights on it. I asked my wife to quickly get the phone and record. She ran inside, and in that time, the lower craft and its lights slowly flickered and went out one after the other until only the original craft was left, still lit, which eventually slowly flickered out as well. My wife was able to snap a quick picture, which we have, of the last craft still lit. And as I mentioned, there's no photo here, so I don't know if they tried to upload it and an administrator blocked it, or if they forgot to upload it. Of course, the photo would help the case. This doesn't sound like Starlink to me. This sounds like 3 lights all next to each other rising up, and then 3 more lights rising up, where Starlink is a link. It's this line of satellites. And if you've seen Starlink, it doesn't quite sound like this. And they're talking about a bright reddish orange light with 2 smaller lights that are also reddish orange on either side of it. So big bright light in the middle, 2 smaller ones, on each side. Doesn't sound like a conventional aircraft, because in that you're going to see, red, green, and white. You're not going to see orange. You're going to see a different, set of colors. So very strange. And it's just rising vertically over the mountain. And it reminds me of the previous story. The same thing. This thing was hovering over a mountain, and it's in the valley. They call it Burlington Flats, and you pay attention to place names. The mountains out there are not huge. This is south of the Adirondacks, southwest of the Adirondacks. There is a valley there, the Mohawk River Valley, and you do have, kind of rolling hills, but they're not huge mountains like you'd have in the Adirondacks. This area is more flat, Burlington Flats. So it's over a hill, it's over the mountain. Very strange, very strange. 7 times that, so was it 7 craft, I guess, with this person saying, with 3 lights, and they're just all kind of vertically going up. Very strange. So not sure what to make of this one. I don't think it's Starlink, but let me know what you guys think it might be. Okay, so now we're moving on over to Cooperstown, which is also in Ostego County. This is a rectangular shaped object with lights on it, an aura or haze around it. And we're hearing this a lot too, like a cloud around it, an aura or haze. Very strange. Slow moving white rectangle with bright amber lights on the bottom, clear blue sky at the time of the sighting, uh, after a stormy day. And they say was at the public boat launch at Ostego Lake, closest to the village, taking pictures of the skies since they had just cleared up from a day and a half of rain. So it's sunny again, and hey, let's take some pictures. It's pretty out again. As I was taking photos of the sunset looking west, I noticed a slow flying white object quietly skimming through the air. Its movements were smooth, and it was traveling from north to south. I had my phone camera and decided to zoom in as far as I could and take a picture. I couldn't determine that it was a rectangle until I looked closer at the photo today just by chance. Using extra zoom, I could enlarge the photo enough to see that it was indeed a white rectangle, not a blimp like I considered. And on the bottom, it had a bright amber reflection. Lights? Question mark. There was also a haze encasing all sides of the object. It flew off and slightly turned more south. Only today did I realize the photo that I had. I'm an adult female, 52 years old, and a hobby photographer. This is the first time I've caught a photo like this. As a child, I saw 3 UFOs with bright pink lights jumping up and down in one area and zigzagging and seeming to follow my friend and I. Scared the heck out of us. So this is from 2016. So whether this was she says it was a phone camera, even if it was a regular digital camera, they weren't as good back then. You're talking 10 years ago. She's thinking maybe it's a blimp. I like that she mentions it might be a reflection. The sun is up. This object is up in the sky, and you do see this sometimes where planes will reflect the sunlight. If they hit that angle just right, they're going to hit the sunlight, and sunlight can look amber. On the other hand, the previous sighting said a reddish-orange, which also sounds amber. So really interesting. Again, I wish the photo were here. There's no photo. And again, I don't know if that's because she forgot to upload it or an admin didn't publish it. But a rectangle, we're hearing a lot of these too. If you've listened to some of my earlier episodes about UFO sightings, there's a lot of triangles, but almost every episode has like this random rectangle. So cool. I don't know what this is. It's a daytime sighting. So yeah, just this weird rectangular craft. I don't know if it would be a blimp. Just very strange. Okay, another one from Cooperstown. This one from July of 2010. A red glowing light crosses the night sky at very high speeds with a curving path over upstate New York. And I wanted to mention this earlier. I totally forgot. I've done an episode on the Mohawk Valley before from a listener. A listener had submitted a story where this person and a few family members had witnessed a large UFO with red lights at night hovering over them while they were having like a cookout in the backyard. But it was also in the Mohawk Valley. So I will link to that below. But here we have another one, red glowing light. So this is the night of July 5th, 2010. I was outside working at my job. My job has me walking outside every night, and the night sky is usually clear with no light pollution. Again, it's not New York City. It's not a large metropolitan area. So as I was walking, I noticed this really fast light in the corner of my eye. This light had a red hue. Lasting about 5 seconds, it crossed 3/4 of the sky until it disappeared into the distance. I know it was not an airplane because it was traveling way too fast with no sound. And again, anybody who's seen an airplane in the sky, they move at a certain speed. And if anything, to our eyes, they look like they move too slow to like sort of stay airborne, even if you're close to an airport. And I'm close to Newark Airport. And sometimes I'm driving by and you just see a plane sort of coming in for a landing. And until they're like right on the ground, they don't look like they're going that fast. So you see something in the sky moving that quickly, it's not a plane or a helicopter or any conventional aircraft. We all know what these things look like in the sky when they're moving. So very strange. It also had no sound. So they continue. It was also not a weather balloon because of this factor also. So again, weather balloon's not going to move that fast. The conclusive factor I see in this is while I was watching this light, its trajectory curved. As it crossed the night sky, its path curved multiple times. So it's curving. Curving was not dramatic, they say, but very noticeable and smooth. The curving path of this flying light factors out a meteor and a satellite. So they're right, because a meteor, they don't change trajectory. Neither do satellites. They're just kind of in this geosynchronous orbit, They move in very straight lines. So to have something sort of moving and curving, That's weird. Neither of these objects curve like the way this light did that night. I also know that this light was not at the altitude of satellites because I've seen many satellites in the past and know they are very hard to see due to their high altitudes. So, yeah, satellite, you almost have to strain your eyes and really try to look to see a satellite. You're not going to just catch a satellite out of the corner of your eye and be like, oh, look, what's that? You kind of have to study the sky, look between stars that are stationary, and just try to find the one little tiny pinpoint of light that's moving. And then you say, oh, that's a satellite because it's way too small to be a plane, even at a high altitude. So this is a weird one. It's different from the other story I mentioned for the Mohawk Valley because that one was a red light that kind of hovered over them and eventually zoomed off. But this thing he's saying is moving very quickly and just changing course subtly, but it's curving. It's not going in a straight line. So again, very strange. It doesn't have the typical navigation lights. It doesn't have the white light. It's just this red light that's moving. And I will link back once again to my episode with John where we talked about the UFO we saw at Bantam Lake, this red light that kind of hovered for over a half an hour and then just moved very quickly. I wouldn't say quicker than a conventional craft, but the fact that it hovered there and kind of watched us for a half an hour or more before it moved, that was really what was odd about it. But it moved probably about the same speed as a plane. So who knows? But I'll link to that episode down below too if you guys want to check that out. That was in Bantam Lake, Connecticut. So very interesting story here. Okay, so another Cooperstown story. This is a short one, but it's an interesting one. And at first glance, it seems explainable. So there were 4 observers. This is from August of 2010, Cooperstown. Again, an aura or haze around the object. So they're not seeing just these like little pinpoints. They're seeing something around it. And this one is a bright orange ball moving south, stopping, and then retreating backwards until it disappeared. So it almost sounds like a fireball or a meteor or a shooting star at first, but those don't stop and then reverse course. Observed an orange-red glowing light in the north sky approaching us to the south sky. The object stopped for approximately 1 minute and then proceeded to retreat back to the southern sky. At this point, it slowly faded and disappeared. So again, a very short story, but this is why these things are odd. It doesn't, they're not always out of this world. They're not always blatantly bizarre, but you see these things and it's just, if they didn't really pay attention to it, they may have just thought it was a shooting star. You see this thing moving and say, oh, look, there's, a fireball or a plane but they watch it and it stops and then it reverses course and moves back in the opposite direction. So very, very strange. Don't know what to make of it. But again, this orange, red, amber, like this reddish orange or this orangish red, amber. That's kind of what we're talking about here. And it's just all of these objects seem to have that same characteristic of this reddish, except for the first one, but reddish orange, amber. Very interesting. Very cool. Okay, so the last UFO sighting for tonight from Cooperstown in Ostego County. This comes to us from June of 2009. 2 observers. It was just a light. So they say the event occurred at around 23:30, so 11:30 at night. And they say, while sitting at the lake edge, watching planes and satellites pass overhead, I had seen one shooting star earlier. I was facing approximately southeast, and my brother was northeast toward me. A bright white light coming from the north first caught my attention out of my peripheral vision as it passed by, approximately straight out over the lake or at about 12 o'clock. It was at maybe 40 degrees above the horizon, or 2 to 3 times the height of the hills across the lake. Initially, I thought it was a meteor, as I saw 2 successive flashes, and sometimes meteors will do that if they break up or pop. So again, they're sky watching, they're looking at satellites and planes, and they see this, what they think is a shooting star, and then it flashes. They think it's a meteor, it's flashing, maybe it's breaking up. They continue. But then, as the light proceeded south at roughly the speed of a fast-moving shooting star, it continued to pulse in a very constant and rhythmic manner. Pulse, pulse, pause, pulse, pulse, pause, pulse, pulse, etc. I called to my brother's attention and finally got him to turn around and look to the south just in time to see it. Thank you, they say. Total time of the incident was about 10 seconds and maybe 6 to 8 2-pulse sets. The object went from about 12 o'clock position to just above the southern horizon in that time. There was no sound heard during or after. The object appeared to be moving in a straight line However, just before disappearing, it seemed to wander some erratically and laterally. So it's kind of moving to the side. Upon thinking about this a bit, it seems likely that this apparent lateral movement was most likely a visual effect of now looking at the fast receding object straight from behind, and that its path was not perfectly straight. The lateral movement was only a degree or two at most. So I like this. They're sort of trying to debunk, and sort of say, yeah, it kind of looked weird, but maybe there's an explanation for it. So I like that they're reporting this, but they're also sort of saying it may have been just a shooting star. They go on to say, I've been a practicing geologist of 30 years, and my brother is a university professional. In all my years of stargazing, I have never seen anything of this nature. In my mind, this was clearly not any type of natural phenomenon. Impossible to be a satellite by nature of its extreme speed, it left no visible ionized trail as a meteor does, and the rhythmic pulsing was dead constant like a strobe. Would it be possible for a meteor to skip across the outer atmosphere, like skipping stone on a pond, and cause the observed effect? I think that the rhythmic pattern of flashes eliminates this possibility, and it went too far and for too long. I have no ready and reasonable explanation for what we saw. Again, I like this. You have a geologist of over 30 years. The brother is a university professional. So these are educated people. And again, the skeptics are always going to tell you that, if you see Bigfoot, if a person sees Bigfoot, if they see a UFO, they're this redneck, hillbilly, uneducated, inbred dumbass, and that is far, far from the truth most of the time. Usually you're hearing about, law enforcement, military, other professionals, people who are trained observers, scientists. You have scientists here looking at this. And while she's not an astronomer or he's not an astronomer, practicing geologist of over 30 years, they watch the night sky. They've seen shooting stars and planes and satellites. They're allowing for the possibility that this is a meteor, which I like. So there's that sort of rational, got to approach it from a skeptical point of view. But at the same time saying, I can't really explain this. That the pulsing was too rhythmic, whereas nature is not typically like that. If you have something bouncing off the atmosphere, it's not going to be exactly rhythmic. It might look that at first, but again, you have trained observers here. You have scientists. Strange. It's very strange. I'm not going to rule out meteor. This person doesn't rule it out either, which again, I love. I like when people critically think and say, hey, maybe this was just a meteor that was acting a bit weird, because that does happen. We don't know everything in the universe. We haven't observed everything in the universe, and there's a first time for everything. So maybe this is just a weird acting meteor. Who knows, though? Again, I think you have a trained scientist who's seeing something strange in the sky. It's good to pay attention. Doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial. Maybe it's a new sort of meteor. Maybe it was made of some sort of weird material that we have yet to discover. Who knows? But anything like that is cool because it's new and it's different and it's strange, and we love the strange and spooky here. So very cool sighting. And I'm going to end on that one because I just think it's great to have people debunk their own stories and leave that room for doubt and sort of say, hey, I saw something weird. I'm not saying it was aliens. I'm not saying it was from another dimension. I'm just saying I saw something weird. It could have been a meteor, but I'm recording this just for posterity because somebody tomorrow may see the same thing and then see this report and be like, I'm reporting mine too because I saw the exact same thing. And that's what builds, the narrative and the evidence, and that's what gets us closer to the truth. All right, everybody. So there's some more UFO stories from Ostego County in central New York. I'm a New Yorker from New York City, so I love the New York stories. Hope you guys enjoyed these. Again, some really strange ones. A lot of orange and red, amber lights, hovering or moving very quickly. Again, doing things that conventional aircraft shouldn't be able to do, hovering for long periods of time or just moving way too fast. So either one, take your pick, is weird. The first one with that video, very strange. I'm going to link to that too, just so you guys can see it for yourselves and not just watch it on my YouTube channel or Spotify. But you can go to the actual link and blow up the video. I was trying to download it and it's not working. So you have to go to the exact site, but you can blow it up on your computer and take a look at it and tell me what you see because it looks weird to me. I don't know what to make of it. Again, not saying that means it's extraterrestrial, but it's a UFO, unidentified flying object. So there we go. But we have to question everything. As I always say, we need to question these things, not to cast aspersions on the witnesses, not to say you're liars or we doubt you, but we need to ask. And that's why I always say I wish sometimes people would flesh out the stories a little bit more, give more detail, because when you question that and say, did it do this? Did it do that? Why didn't it do this? Why didn't you do this? That's all those bits of information get us closer to the truth. So we always have to question these things. But I think these were some pretty good stories. The last one, kind of on the fence about that one, but so was the witness, and I like that. So possible meteor, but still unidentified, and it just sounded like it acted strange. So until next time, everybody, embrace the weird, stay safe out there, keep watching the skies, and rock and roll.